So our talk today is called Digital Experience, Performances to Remember. So I think the thread that you can see throughout today is us kind of reframing the word performance. So we want to start by welcoming you to our performance. As Beth has already introduced to us, it's a duet. I'm Ian, I'm the creative director at RocketMill.
Hi, my name's Alex and I'm head of UX at RocketMill.
And you can think of us as the Sonny and Cher when it comes to all things creative and UX. I love that photo, something about it, it's really good. So when we got this brief, Alex and I kind of sat down, had a coffee and some pancakes, as you do in Brighton, and got our inner Greek philosopher out to kind of understand what does performance really mean. We came up with a few alternatives. So one of them is, does it mean hitting targets, which I'm sure you guys are very familiar with, and obviously Adam has just alluded to in his talk. Does it mean working to your optimum? And I know Chris from Planet K2 will be touching on this later. Or does it mean something else? Does it mean giving great experiences? So if you're thinking about performers like musicians, artists, whatever, their purpose as a performer is to create the very best experience possible for their audience. But as Sam suggested in the earlier talk, for us experiences are everything. They're essential to all the activity that we run. And what we mean by experiences is ultimately accumulation of touch points where your customer is interacting with your brand. And that's what we're going to focus on today.
So with this, one of the things with experiences that I'm sure everyone here finds a little bit difficult is it's quite difficult to quantify them. It's quite difficult to put a measure exactly on every stage of the experience. And one of the main points around this is because we actually use emotion to describe experiences and what actually goes on in the world. Nobody ever says, my holiday was efficient. Instead, they go, my holiday was relaxing. Nobody says, our journey was optimized. They say, it was easy. That's how we describe things. And people definitely never, ever say, my details went through 3 different systems. As I'm sure, well, I've seen a few journeys like that. Instead, people say, the process was simple. At the end of the day, what users experience is completely different to what we think. It's not about what it is, it's about how it feels. It doesn't matter all the things that stitch an experience together, it matters what that person's perception of that experience is. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to psychology. So an interesting case study that I found on this is Houston Airport. And a few years ago, they were having an issue where they were getting a lot of complaints about baggage claim. They were getting a lot of people complaining about the amount of time it was taken from when they got off the plane to when they got their suitcase at the end. And so Houston Airport went, cool, okay, we've got a solution for this, we can fix this. More baggage handlers. That will reduce the wait time, that will definitely solve this. And they're right, the average wait time did fall. They box ticked, they did it. The thing was the complaints continued. So they'd given the people what they wanted, they'd managed to reduce the wait time, so what was going on here? So what they decided to do was they undertook some on-site analysis. They actually went out and they spoke to their customers, they spoke to people on the floor, and they tried to understand what these people were really feeling and what they were experiencing. And what they found out by doing this is that 88% of passenger time from getting off the plane was spent waiting for their bags. That's a lot of time just stood waiting. And so it was identified that this was the bit that needed fixing. So to be able to do that, Houston Airport decided to take a new approach, a new way of assessing these customer complaints. And so what they actually did was they made it so that people had to walk 6 times longer. They reframed the experience and they made it so that people were engaged throughout the time from getting off the plane to getting their bags. There was less time spent waiting and there was more time spent doing, and it had the desired effect and complaints dropped to nearly 0, which is great success for them as a business. Another example of this out in the real world, and something most of you might experience today actually, is on the underground. And can anyone spot what's missing from this photo?
People, yeah.
That as well.
So it's update screens that tell you how many
Yeah, exactly. It's the sign. And this is something that you will almost certainly look for as soon as you get down onto the platform. And it's something that they found has actually had a massive impact on how people perceive the experience of using the tube. You're more likely to wait 10 minutes for a train you know is arriving than 5 minutes for one you doesn't know is even going to exist. And so by doing this, TfL have managed to reframe the experience, and they've managed to smooth out the process that's going on, and so that people perceive this journey in a much more positive light. So at the end of the day, people don't care about performance. They don't care about things on the back end of how you've made things faster and how you've made things smoother and you've got rid of a system and all of that in the back end. They care about the performance they see. What they care about is their experience and what they're affected by.
Good. So I'm going to talk to you now about how you can go from performance in the old light in regards to considering targets and whatever, obviously still important, but maybe not necessarily the direct focus, to performance in regards to creating a show for your audience. So Alex and I both agree, and I think you can see it within the Houston Airport example that she mentioned earlier. Sometimes the most impactful thing is just to actually speak to your people. We're in an age where there's data all around us, obviously, again, hugely valuable, but there's something brilliant, especially when it comes to comms and UX, just by speaking firsthand to the users involved, and you can get some really lovely creative insight from that. So we're going to show you a case study today. We're fortunate enough to work with Kimberly-Clark on a EMEA level on all the digital creative and media for their childcare and adult care brands. So what that really means for some brands I'm sure you guys would recognise, Pull-Ups, Huggies Wipes, Dry Nights, Depend. So today we're going to talk about Dry Nights. Dry Nights, if you don't know, are a product that deals with child bedwetting. They come in either kind of underwear for at night and bed mats as well. So in year one, we've worked on them for a few years, but I'm going to do a direct comparison from year one, being last year, and the progress that we're making in year two. So year one, we interviewed their people. We wanted to try and understand the sentiment surrounding child bedwetting. So we used their sentiments to understand what truths there were. So what we did is we put some interviews together. I think it was about 3 or 4, each about half an hour long, and just to really get into the kind of nuances surrounding the emotions of bedwetting. And I fizzed through it as we were kind of creating this talk, and there was one paragraph for me that kind of encapsulated some of the stuff that Kimberly-Clark have already spoken to us about, but which we wanted to find out firsthand. So I'll read it out loud, and I've kind of highlighted in orange the really interesting kind of emotional insights we've got. Naturally, with all these issues, as a parent, it makes you feel like you failed. You're guilty. You're not doing something right. I'm giving her too much water before bedtime. I'm giving her too much liquid a few hours before she goes to bed. So it's obviously something that I'm doing wrong. Now, clearly haven't got the technique that every other parent has got and is using to enable their child to go through the night. So that's personally how it made me feel. Now, that was fascinating for us because Kimberly-Clark are kind enough to kind of give us the insights from a scientific perspective about child bedwetting. And ultimately, it is just a developmental phase in the sense that if you're thinking about it as a switch in a child's brain, it switches probably around 4 or 5, maybe slightly earlier when you're going through potty training. But for some children, it takes a little longer. And that's a switch that will happen naturally over time. It's not necessarily something that you can control. So when you're seeing some of the nuances within here about, I'm giving her too much water before bedtime, I feel like I failed, I feel that I'm guilty as a result of it. These are particularly unfounded and not necessarily anxieties that a parent of a bedwetting child should feel. So as the agency of Kimberly-Clark, we thought this was an opportunity for us to try and alleviate some of that anxiety and help them on a more of an emotional level when it comes to marketing Dry Nights. So in the year one, what we did is we kind of used that sentiment and understood how we can communicate to try and alleviate that. So as you can see with some of the nuances within the copy, manage bedwetting with a product that protects, supporting them through that bedwetting phase. Words like protection and supporting are obviously the yearning that the parent wants to feel at this point. And then as we kind of go deeper into the body copy, for most children, bedwetting is just a phase. Most children will stop bedwetting on their own. These are kind of nuances to try and educate parents to understand that it isn't something necessarily they have direct control over, but what they should be concentrating on is supporting them through the phase. And that's where Dry Nights comes in. So ultimately, going back to the subject, that was our performance. There were the acts that we created to try and bridge this gap with our consumers. And that's what they experienced as a result. And look how happy they are. This guy. So obviously we didn't want to settle for that. We wanted to try and bring it up a notch even more. So in year 2, we thought, well, how can we kind of make it even better? How can we elevate this? So as we analysed the sort of activity that we did from a creative point of view, we understood that maybe they don't want to hear from brands about how they should be acting towards bedwetting. You know, I as a parent, and I'm speaking very closely to my sister as well, there's, like what Sam was saying this morning, there's this degree of scepticism with brands and just wanted to do it just to get a sale. So rather than using the words for our communications as a brand firsthand, we wanted to facilitate the conversation between parents.
Dry Nights stopped my daughter feeling embarrassed about wearing a nappy overnight. They made her feel grown up and gave her so much more confidence, especially in front of friends and family, to know that she wasn't going to wet the bed at night and that she'd wake up dry in the morning.
So this is just one of the 30-second ads that we've done this year, amongst many others. And we felt that this more indirect approach, rather than just talking directly from brand to consumer, was actually a lot more comforting for parents and actually kind of hammered home the point a lot better. That was a mum blogger called Donna, who is also known as What the Redhead Said, one of my own. And she actually had a child that went through child bedwetting. So we got her to do a shoot and kind of tell us some of the experiences that she felt. And we thought it was a really lovely way of doing it. So much so that we wanted to kind of incorporate that within the whole of the childcare portfolio. Pull-Ups is obviously another brand which deals directly with potty training. The emotions are slightly different, but that technique we brought across everything. So we were starting to facilitate these conversations, to start to get that sense of empathy between consumers, to try and show them that we get it, we completely understand. We were trying to improve the experience for our consumers, and it just so happened that the results went up too.
So to summarise on all this, we really encourage you to think about what your company means when it says performance. What are you really talking about when you use that word? Are you talking about numbers and targets and updating dashboards and getting reports across? Are you talking about working to your optimum and changing actions and behaviours? Or are you talking about creating a great experience? Are you talking about helping people, guiding them, and connecting with them on an emotional level? Because at the end of the day, emotions are what drive us all. They drive us from our home to our work lives and in achieving all our goals and ambitions. And if we as brands can connect with people on that emotional level, then our message will resonate with them. They'll be more likely to return, and we can only achieve business success. Thank you.
Thank you.